This is my cell phone. As you can tell, it's the pinnacle of modern technology. But actually, this is the reason I'm doing this week's show right here, because what's happening to my cell phone could happen to gamers. Emphasis on could. Let me reprise my role as Captain Obvious. I'm not made of money. The fact that several people have made fun of my lack of high-end graphics can pretty much prove that. So when I buy something, I try to make it last, or I buy a working solution until I can afford the real solution. It's not the best way to live, but it's what I got. So, my phone. In the last week, I've been getting text messages every other day from AT&T telling me that they're upgrading their systems and my phone will not be supported on their network come December 2016. And they are imploring me to go to my local AT&T store and buy a brand new phone. You know, as sales pitches go, that one's about as subtle as a touring ninja. Going old school with that joke. But you see, this all got me thinking, because basically the company that I bought this phone from is bricking my phone. Before I continue, maybe I should define bricking. It's when a technology device becomes completely non-functional as that technology device and works better as dead weight. Or to use the term in context, it may as well be a brick. Usually this happens under catastrophic circumstances like falling or unexpected water voyages, but it can also happen because of conflicting software or user enhancement attempts. But sometimes technology is bricked by the company intentionally, and yes, this is not tinfoil hat territory, it's already happened. Do you remember the iPhone's Error 53? Yeah, the iPhone 9 bricked itself if it detected you had a repair done from an unauthorized source. Which kinda sucks if, I don't know, you happen to be a reporter covering a refugee crisis thousands of miles away from an Apple store. And yes, that happened, and yeah, Apple did reverse the upgrade after a public outcry and a class action lawsuit. But the fact is, they bricked their own product to kind of punish people for not staying brand loyal. I suppose we should also talk about planned obsolescence in technology too. Basically, a piece of technology is never really intended to last forever. It's designed in such a way that it's going to be technologically obsolete, or at least impossible to repair. And if you've ever tried to repair an Xbox controller, you know exactly what I mean, and yes, I've tried that. Parts everywhere, but it was fascinating to do. Incidentally, if anybody needs a bag of random Xbox controller parts, let me know down in the... Actually, on second thought, scratch that, I might need these later. But okay, more to the point. I want you to think about this for a moment. How many games do you have in your library that require an online connection or have to touch base with a server in order to be playable? Yep. A lot of modern titles have an always-on requirement, meaning that you need to have an internet connection so these games can at least check in on a remote server, if not play off of it. Let's see a short list. Need for Speed 2015, The Division, Diablo 3, The Crew, The Sims 4, you needed to have an online connection to start playing it, Hitman, actually just about everything from Ubisoft and EA lately. And also the Xbone, that was launched as needing to be always online too, but that was a PR disaster and eventually they scrapped it. This isn't counting proper MMO titles and MOBAs, other open world games that really can't exist, but actually that's the justification that's always used for online DRM, open worlds. The concept, and when I read this I rolled my eyes so hard I saw my brain, is to make a living, breathing world for the players. So, translation. Apparently they think we want to get trolled in our game by people from all over the world at any given time. Apparently, at least according to Ubisoft, this is important to gamers. Okay, fine. Some games can't exist without online interactions. The day of the LAN party are far over, except for the truly hardcore. World of Warcraft couldn't exist without this kind of online play, but SimCity? Really? You need to be online for a living, breathing SimCity? But you see, I don't think that the game companies are being completely philanthropic when it comes to selling always online gameplay. In fact, I don't think it's about giving the players anything that they want. Because if it was about giving the players what they want, Blizzard would be offering a vanilla WoW server. Blizzard Entertainment has always been going after private servers, and Nostalrius got hit in April 2016, and that was a really popular vanilla WoW server. Blizzard's stance is, it's illegal, and that is that. But I don't think that's entirely the case, as they said on several occasions that WoW will never, ever go back to its roots.
Have you ever thought about adding servers for previous expansions as they were then?
No. And by the way, you don't want to do that either. You think you do, but you don't. You don't want to do that.
And you know, that's a nice PR spin, but really, what's the harm in allowing vanilla WoW servers to stand? Okay, well, monetarily they'd lose subscription fees from thousands of players, and that can add up fast. So what's to stop them from doing it themselves? Obviously there's interest. Obviously people want to play vanilla WoW, but if Blizzard did that, they'd lose even more money. How do you keep a perpetual world going? Well, you need money. You gotta pay for the servers, the game masters, the ISPs, and so on. And $15 a month from a few million users is not chump change, but what brings in the big money? Expansions. Each expansion, Blizzard gets another $50 from every single player, and they've done these for what, every 2 years since 2007? That is a huge influx of money every 2 years. Now, let's say Blizzard did offer a vanilla server, and say 15% of the player base did nothing but play vanilla WoW. The last numbers I could find suggested they still had about 5.5 million subscribers, so that's 825,000 people not buying expansions, not buying DLC, and not buying cosmetic horsies in the shop. That's over $41 million in just expansion sales.
Now, I'm not saying that money is or is not the main motivator for Blizzard here, but I will say that Blizzard has said no legacy servers, even in spite of the popular demand of people asking for them. Not that popularity has saved other titles from being obliterated off the virtual landscape either.
And here's where we get to the idea of bricking games. It's one thing to not roll back a game to a prior incarnation. It's another to turn the servers off completely. Games like City of Heroes, Star Wars Galaxies, Final Fantasy XIV Online, Chromehounds, these were popular games that were just gone. Okay, some of them still have a single player option, but the point is the same. A company decides an online game is not profitable, so they pull the plug. Again, keeping a game going is not cheap, so we can't expect servers to remain up forever if the numbers start to dwindle. But as of now, there really is no legal infrastructure to work around. Say if a company wants to pull the plug on a game server that your game has to check in with, yeah, some people are going to crack the games, but most people aren't going to bother, and to them, that means the game is gone.
For the sake of argument, I'd like to take this one step further, and yes, I realize that I'm taking a huge leap here, but I want to present this just for the sake of argument, and it has everything to do with the game company's control after the point of sale.
To understand where I'm coming from here, okay, there's this thing called metrics that games do. Games basically record what players do, and they report that information back to the company so that the company can make changes based on what the players seem to want. So, for example, so in the Walking Dead series, the players have a choice to save this nerdy guy or this tough girl, and for most players they chose the girl. 75% of the players saved the girl. And the developers learned this very, very quickly and adjusted all their future games to make NPCs more relatable. On top of that, games can retroactively fix game bugs through DLC and through updates. It happens all the time in modern games. To quote an achievement hunter of note, "My life is a progress bar." Everything from a spelling error to a game-breaking glitch can be patched remotely, and this should concern us.
In almost every other consumable goods industry, when you buy something, it's yours to keep. You can do with it as you please. I mean, hell, way back in the day, when you bought a video game, it was pretty much a done deal. Yeah, there were exploitable glitches in some of those games and mistakes, but that was just part of the package, and we dealt with it. But now that we know that game companies can change a game that's in your system, one step further.
Let's say that a company wants to push us to buy Cool Game 4, but we're still playing Cool Game 3, so they send DLC out to just make Cool Game 3 not work anymore, and it just puts up a message saying, buy Cool Game 4, and as a consolation for being a loyal customer, here's a discount code so you can buy it online. And with more and more games going electronic sales only without a physical copy, if the file gets hosed, the game is basically gone. And what are you going to do if it's just a file on a console? Well, some of you might know how to back up your Xbone files, but most players don't. So if a company wanted to push Cool Game 4 like that, what's stopping them? What, ethics? Oh, please, this is the gaming industry. Public outcry? Please. Lawsuits? Well, they do listen to those, but you better come prepared for a long-haul fight. And all they would need to do before that is amend the EULA or something that nobody reads, and boom, you've just agreed to lease their game and never actually bought the game.
Now, for the record, I don't think that this is going to happen. It could happen, but it's really highly... actually, let's go back to the BlizzCon footage just one more time.
Remember when you had to, spam cities and say, need a tank, need a tank, need a tank during the Burning Crusade days? You don't remember that, because now you just push a button that says, go to the dungeon. You don't want to do that. Remember that one bug that really pissed you off that we fixed like 2 years ago? Still there in the past.
You know, for the sake of argument, let's give him that. Let's say they're being genuine. The reason they don't want to bring back Vanilla WoW is because they think it sucked. Or they're ashamed of it. Either way, Blizzard is deleting their history. I suppose this is a byproduct of modern living. You know, people will retroactively delete tweets and posts and videos, delete the past so you can't get judged on it. But we all know this kind of scrubbing is dishonest. I mean, it's something you do after college so you can get a job afterwards. It's always done to hide something, and we all know. I'm not a fan of deleting history. I never have been. Mainly because people will delete what they think is bad without considering the effects of what it has on today. Imagine if Nintendo could have somehow scrubbed every mention or copy of Metroid leading up to Other M. What would that have done to that release? What would it do to future releases? Imagine trying to keep an oral history of Samus alive, knowing full well it would get DMCA'd if you talked about it anywhere. Alright, so the logistics of this kind of a scrubbing are staggering, so yeah, to that end it's impractical at best. But that said, it's kind of already happened too. Anybody remember Sega's scrub of Shining Force? They DMCA'd dozens of channels off of YouTube, and they only said, well, our bad. Or how about Sony trying to trademark Let's Play as a legal strong-arm tactic, or Nintendo bullying YouTubers and are still bullying them? I don't think they'd have a problem bricking games if it served a purpose like that.
That all said, I don't think that this is going to happen. The PR nightmare alone should be enough to scare any one of these companies away from doing it, but still, yeah, they could use the same excuses that AT&T is using to brick this thing in a couple of months. You know, technology moves on. Who would want to use old, dated technology? I don't know, let's ask a couple thousand people thrown off of Nostalrius.
So as many of you know, about a month ago I was diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. There's going to be a fundraising ride for the American Diabetes Association. And this is the one that's taking place in southeast Wisconsin. There's also going to be one in Madison, but this is one going on closer to Milwaukee. I've entered to ride 100 kilometers, which is about 60 miles, give or take. And I need your guys' help. The thing is, it is a fundraising ride. I've set a pretty high goal. I've set $1,000 as my goal because, you know, if you're gonna go big. Well, the first thing is, if you've got the means, there's a link down below this video that's gonna go to the fundraising page that I've set up for the Tour de Cure. If you could go there and donate a couple bucks, I would really appreciate it. They do take credit cards, they do take PayPal. Now, I also understand, because, you know, I've been there, sometimes you're like, well, I can't donate anything right now. That's cool. There's one other thing you can do for me. If you can't donate right now, I'm gonna ask you guys for a favor, and that is to pass the link along on social media. Post it up on Facebook, on Twitter, all the places that you go to. There's a lot of reasons for this. Number one, the American Diabetes Association, which this all benefits, they put a lot of their money into research, advocacy, and public education. One of my goals for this ride is I want to be able to fund any kind of public education so that people don't have to go through the weekend I went through. People in emergency rooms are nice people, but I don't want to see them like that ever again. Which also brings up my second reason for wanting to do this ride. This is personal. Links down below. Share that link if you want to. And if you can do anything for me, I would really, really appreciate it.